Now the third option, I don't see that I will discuss all the options there are. I give the full the full row of options that there are, but I will also give a third option, which is quite interesting, and which also I think applies in the first steps, or in the early phase of the evolution of moral sentiments. If authorities, or if things, moral, behavioral recommendations accessible to a multitude, if this is the thing important in the generation of authorities, then this third option of the development of morality from authorities, if this is valid, then if this is valid at all, then it might most probably be applied to the early phase of the moral evolution of the development of morals. The judgments of the newspaper editor, of the Congress member, or of the dinner party talker, I forgot the fourth entity now, the judgments by these people, made by these people, if they may be completely random. People talk a lot, people say a lot, people give very different orders, and they just try. It's a trial and error thing, and the people who had the authority that said such a thing that was adaptive, they were better than a people with a moral authority that said something that was in the end not adaptive. So the judgments of the Supreme Court judges, of the dinner party talkers, of the leading dinner party talker, or of the Congress member, or of the composite. This also applies very nicely to the composite of these entities. The composite of this talking and discussing is completely random, and only after a period of time some evolution of morals can be detected. You see, we will see which dinner party conversation was the best and which court decision was the best. It's simply that which gave people the best life, and also in an evolutionary sense the best outlook of reproduction, both somatic, that you stay alive for a long time, and for sexual reproduction or offspring reproduction. This third option is very much interesting for the early phase of moral development, but it may also apply even today. Maybe there is no psychological, no better psychological understanding in the newspaper editor that shifts the moral zeitgeist. It's just some authority that gives a new view about morality, but this is adopted by the people who will be fitter to survive that new, who are, well, the people who adopt it prove in some way to be fitter to the world's conditions at such and such a time. And but even if this applies, even if this third option applies, you see that in the interesting sense, our morals are not derived from these authorities that give their random judgments. But this means, if that option applies or is adequate to the facts, then our morals do not come from dinner party conversations, from congressional votes, from newspaper editorials, or some Supreme Court decision, or some composite of them in the first place, but they are derived from some evolutionary process. The dinner party conversation result, or the newspaper editorial, the revolutionary one shifting the moral zeitgeist, it does not guarantee that its result is morally correct. We see only after some time that, the people listening to that editor were better off than other people not listening to that editor. Their life had a better quality, was more fulfilling. There was more peace in the society that adhered to this rule. You see, even then, the morals are not derived in the interesting sense from the newspaper editor or the Congress member who had some revolutionary or reformative views. Even then, they are derived from an evolutionary process. Even if, in this very primitive sense, the morals did come from the Congress member or newspaper editor, but only in this really primitive sense in which our electricity comes from the socket or from the wall, or in the sense that our milk comes from the supermarket. But this is, I might also be committing a no real Scotsman fallacy here, but this is not really the thing we mean when we ask the question, where do our morals come from, or where do our shifts in our morals come from? This is not really what people mean and what people would like to hear if they ask that question. So, Mr. Dawkins, wherever else our morals come from, they certainly do not come from religion, dinner party conversations, congressional votes, newspaper editorials, or Supreme Court decisions. Thank you.